Welcome everybody back to a brand new episode of the Transgender Plan, your go-to podcast for transgender history. As always, I'm your host, Mari, and it is an absolute pleasure to have you all here back on a Monday evening, because it's definitely evening in Atlanta. I just want to say I'm sorry about yesterday. I had a lot of schoolwork, a lot of other things to do around my house. I was literally catching up on sleep that I have not gotten over the last couple of days. So I had a lot going on, and I wasn't able to literally put together the episode yesterday to release it by yesterday. So today I decided I was going to record it and get it all set and ready to go for you all. So I'm happy to be back. Happy Pride, as I always like to say, especially during the month of June. Shout out to the queers, Enjoy yourselves for Pride. Please make sure you stay safe as well. Just because we know how crazy the world can be. But enjoy yourself. Pride month for me is very busy. I'm a very busy with business during the month of Pride, so I don't get to party as much as everybody else would. But October in Atlanta is our Pride, so I have the actual time to party in. But I will be out of town too, in Chicago in the next couple of weeks, visiting some family. So that'd be cool. I'll be able to go to my first Pride in Chicago. It's funny that I've been living in Chicago for a very long time, never been to Pride, but then again, I wasn't out at the time, so I probably wouldn't have went anyway. So, but I am happy to be back. And I'm happy to actually talk about the city of Chicago today, because it actually relates to today's topic. But before I get into it, I always like to welcome my listeners. So welcome to all my listeners here, whether you're new or returning. For all of my new listeners, thank you so much for actually tuning in and checking out the Transgender Plan podcast. Just to give a very quick, concise overview of what the podcast is. As you know, go-to podcast for transgender history. But our podcast is not really just about history. It's really more serving as a platform for education. We want to be able to provide you all with valuable insights into the transgender community to, inspire understanding, promote inclusivity, but also just give you all a little bit of some history that you may not have been aware of. So that's basically the genesis of this podcast. Each episode is intentionally designed to be very concise yet comprehensive. So we keep it at a good 10 to 20 minutes, ready just to give you something to start with. And we want you all to learn more on your own time. So I give you a very good synopsis of a topic, and you take it and learn more on your free time, hopefully. So thank you. So if you're new, thank you so much for turning in today. Hope you enjoy it. If you do, don't forget to subscribe, like it, tell a friend, family, or another ally that you may know. I think they'll also enjoy it. And for our returning listeners, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast. It is a dire feeling in my heart to know that you all come back and subscribe and be the first to listen to when new episodes drop. So thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast as well. So with that, let's get to today's episode. So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking about the city of Chicago today. I wasn't born actually. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio, raised in Chicago. So I'm very familiar with the city, and especially this specific city that's going to be mentioned in our podcast today. So I'm going to take you all on a fascinating journey, really back to about the mid 20th century, where we actually be exploring the somewhat-ish overlooked. I say it's often overlooked because, as I began to study more about transgender history, it wasn't something that I was aware of. But then my grandmother gave me a little bit more insights about this city and a little bit more about the community, plus another city that I'll mention in a second. That's actually a very significant part, of transgender history, and that is Queer Bronzeville. Now, if you've never been to Bronzeville before, it is a very prominent LGBTQ plus city in the city of Chicago, alongside Boys Town, which is another very prominent LGBTQ plus city in this part in Chicago. I mean, it's a city in the city of Chicago. You get what I'm trying to say. So I want to talk about that and really how it impacted transgender history today. So let's get started on this journey. So to start, I'm going to start our journey by really setting the scene, right? Bronzeville. Think about it. Picture it. A vibrant, listening neighborhood nested on the south side of Chicago. Now, I grew up on the west side of Chicago, but I very well known about the south side of Chicago. The west and the south side are basically the exact same. Just, they're basically the same in my opinion. Obviously, if from people who live in the city of Chicago or raised in the city of Chicago, depending on what side you live on, they will say that it's not the same, but it's basically the same. It became a very radiant hub for Black LGBTQ plus community during the 1920s. And this era was heavily marked by systematic racism and deeply rooted homophobia, which is still in the city today. You still see a little bit of it, but they are getting better. I'll just say that. However, amidst all the adversity and hardship, Bronzeville emerged as an oasis, really in a unique space where Black, queer, and transgender individuals could live openly, freely, of course, and creating a thriving, supporting, and empowering community. So imagine, picture this again, work with me. The lively nightclubs, and if you're a part of the community, you understand how the lively nightclubs can be. Pulsating, in this case, actually with the rhythm of jazz and blues rather than what we may know as like pop or hip hop, depending on where you go. Serving as a vibrant backdrop for the community's dynamic social scene. Now, these clubs, obviously, filled with life and laughter, especially at a time like this, were much more than really just places of entertainment. They were sanctuaries, places of refuge, where individuals could express themselves without the fear of judgment or persecution. A place where you could be authentically yourself, and the acceptance really extended beyond the elite, right? Where working class African-American queer individuals were also found, in the city, in the streets of Bronzeville. Now, at the very heart of this thriving scene was the drag ball culture, which we all are very, very familiar with. If you are not familiar with the drag ball culture, a recommendation for whether you're in the community or not, Paris is Burning. It is available on Max still. I don't think they're going to take it off. I don't think I've seen it have like an expiration date, but Max has the movie. Very heartfelt, but gives you a very, very good overview of the ball culture just in general, not as it relates to Bronzeville, but just in general. An extremely significant, influential aspect of queer Bronzeville. Now, these balls, often hosted by racially integrated immigrant cohorts, were more than just like events or parties. They were a place where individuals could express themselves and their identities freely and proudly. It was a space of celebration, camaraderie, and resistance against the societal norms that, obviously sought to oppress us. So amidst all this, the community basically quietly, embraced, homosexuality at this time. So the most influential figures as it relates to Bronzeville, you will hear a lot of different ones like Nancy Kelly, Rudy Richardson. But as you think about the Black trans community, Lucy Hicks Anderson, which is a Black transgender woman, and I think I did a podcast episode on her before, or if I haven't done it, it must be on the books to get recorded. So bear with me. I will just take a look and see if you can find the episode. But I think I did an episode of Lucy Hicks Anderson. And as a Black transgender woman, she was very prominent and respected figure within the community, actually. Anderson was celebrated for her extravagant parties and delightful social gatherings, which were really seen as major events in the community. Her life, acceptance, and respect within the community serves as early evidence of the existence and acceptance of transgender individuals, even during a time when such identities were not, widely understood and accepted within the society. So as we talk about Queer Bronzeville, it went around for a very long time, but I want you all to know that Queer Bronzeville was actually also a part of, like I said, making the queer culture within the city of Chicago, especially for Black LGBTQ plus individuals, very active in the civil rights movement, gay liberation within Bronzeville, and also the AIDS epidemic and Black politics as well. So to kind of highlight, during the civil rights movement, it's important to note that, Black, it's more like gay men, were really involved in obviously various organizations, and as you think about sexuality and gender, it's very tolerated as long as it was kept private. Same thing for, like I said, lesbians, transgender individuals, etc. So, Chicago did their best to be very active, like I said, in the civil rights within the city itself, also within, making sure that we just be active in the entire movement itself as well. So in the late 1970s, as the community became more visible and politically organized, we tried our best to create Black queer organizations to play very pivotal roles in advocating for the rights and acceptance of the African-American gay community, and gay community being, gay meaning more like a universal, right, community within the city of, in the city of Chicago as it relates to this area in Bronzeville. So Queer Bronzeville was indeed, a beacon of hope and a symbol of resilience for many Black, queer, and transgender individuals. And it was a space that allowed for the articulation and the expression of diverse sexual and gender identities at a time when such expressions were often met with hostility, prejudice, and repression. So as I go on, if you're new here, I like to do key takeaways about what I talked about, because like I said, I don't want to give you all too much information, just enough so that you can go do some more research on your own time. Not saying that I don't like to do it. I am an educator. But I like to give y'all a little taste, put a little bow tie, like give you a present, put a bow tie on it, you open it, and then, you can do whatever you want after. That's kind of like that, like a gift card or something. So I like to keep takeaways. So I want to start off with Queer Bronzeville, like I said, really being a vibrant hub for the Black LGBTQ plus community, especially in the city of Chicago. For as long as I've been there, we have a lot of work, but I can say that it has gotten better. I can also say that our community within the Black LGBTQ plus community in Chicago has gotten better. We're working on it. There is still a little bit of times where I see a little bit of some homophobia and stuff, but I think that I can absolutely say that changes have came about, and we're trying to create more of a community as it relates to the city of Chicago and bringing everybody together. The drag ball culture was very significant, influential aspect of Queer Bronzeville. Like I said, being a place where everyone can be free, express their identities, and also, like I said, about the nightlife itself as well. Lucy Hicks, being a Black trans woman who's very prominent and respected within the community, being, like I said, that early evidence of the acceptance of transgender individuals during this time. And, as always, despite the oppressive forces, Queer Bronzeville, continue to thrive and still thrives today, in my opinion, of challenging societal norms and creating, like I said, that vibrant culture that continues to inspire today. So as we dive deeper really into that profound impact of Queer Bronzeville transgender history, it's crucial to remember that this was a community that not only survived the oppressive forces of racism and homophobia, but incredibly it thrived, right? Like I said, the city is still around today. Like I said, it didn't go away, but it's just a matter of recognizing the history alongside of it. And it was a space, like I said, that kind of challenged those societal norms. It broke barriers. Like I said, we were involved in the civil rights movement, gay liberation, like I said, creating a queer culture in the city of Chicago where it's not really that much accepted at the time. So great, like I said, being able to create a vibrant culture that continues to inspire, and fuel progress even still today. Because I will actually be, like I said, there next week. So I'll be happy to do my little bit of business, but a little bit of pleasure while I'm there, And even today, the spirit of Queer Bronzeville is on. Its enduring legacy, reminding us that the power of the community and the importance of spaces that allow us as individuals to live authentically. We can continue to explore, like I said, the rich layer history of Queer Bronzeville because of that. So with that is the end of today's episode. I'd like to greatly thank you all for checking out today's episode. If, like I said, depending on what type of listener, or if you're new here or if you're a returnee, thank you so much for continuing to support the podcast. If you would like to continue on to follow us, you can follow us on social media at The Trans Lesson Plan on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow me, the host, Mari, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at mariiiwrld. MAR, 3 I's, WRLD is also in the description, just in case I said that too fast. And as always, I'm here every week drop you all with a brand new episode. So I have actually the other episode writing up, typing up. So I'm excited to let you all know about that. This is actually a recent discovery that I found while I was reading newspaper, the digital newspaper. I'm not saying it's bad to have paper copies, but the digital newspaper. So I'm excited to talk about that and the discovery about someone from our very, very long past being actually someone who identifies as trans. So I think that's a pretty cool topic to talk about. So with that, I thank you all so much for taking a listen to today's episode. Like I said, if you have not done so already, don't forget to subscribe and check out previous episodes if you have not already. And don't forget to share with a friend, family member, or another ally. As I mentioned, happy Pride, be safe, and enjoy yourselves in this very, very lovely month. Thank you so much. I will be back with you all next week on a brand new episode of the Trans Plane. Until then, peace.